right. Thank you very much. We are here back again. Thank you everybody for joining us on the second panel discussion. The topic for this discussion is kind of very interesting. My email strategy yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And to discuss this, we have some top speakers here with all of us. Chen Chow from Fave, Gaurav Gupta from Hello Travel, Rachit Mato, he will be joining in a couple of minutes. He's from Make My Trip. And to moderate this panel, we have our Netcore superstar, Tanishka. So let's kind of get started. Tanishka, it's all yours, sir. And the moment Rachit joins in, we'll kind of rope him in.
Sure. Thanks, Bala. I love the beard, by the way. Thank you.
Me too.
Yes. So, guys, we are here to discuss my email strategy yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And what I mean by yesterday is this is the time when COVID didn't happen. And today means, today the situation we are in, where we are facing crisis and we don't know how long this will be. And when I say tomorrow, it means that when the crisis is over and we see the light at the end of the tunnel, what would be the new future like, right? So that is where we want to know these email strategies. And before starting the panel, I spoke to a couple of people right at the beginning of this conference. I spoke to Sneha. She's from some educational institute. She said, I'm here specifically to hear email strategy. I spoke to Yasmin. She's from Cyberjaya. She said, I am here to listen and understand how to get email strategy right. Novo from IO Insights, Akhil from Big Basket, and Anita, who's CEO of Cafe Mutual. So I met some of these guys. And guys, in case you can hear me, you can show me thumbs up or heart so that I know you're listening. And these guys all are here to understand at this point in time how to get email strategy right. Okay, so guys, since Chen has to leave the panel before in next 10-15 minutes, so my focus would be to talk to Chen and Gaurav. I'll circle back to you and Rachit once we are done with Chen. Chen, I would like to know a little bit about Fave and how email fits in your overall marketing strategy.
Yeah. Hi, Tanish. Yeah, thanks a lot, Neko and Peppy Post for inviting me. Sorry that I had a hard stop later, but I think great to meet everyone. So I think in terms of us, Fave, so I think we are merchant digital platforms. So we basically connect offline local businesses, restaurant, retailers to consumers. So I think in terms of the email for us, I think that for those that are not aware for Fave, we acquired that Groupon business in Southeast Asia. So it's like previously nearby Deep in India as well. So in terms of email, I think you know that if you're previously even in Groupon days, you get emails from that, right? So I think as we go on the emails is that as we evolve on it is how do we ensure that people getting the right email at the right time, right? So because in the end is that email to the right people at the right time, the right message is good email. Anything that is the wrong time, wrong message, wrong audience will be a spam, right? So I think in the end is hitting that part, and I think a lot is understanding the user, right? So what do the user wants, thinks of it at that time, right? So that will be key as we go on it. Like what are the things that I think so the strategy a lot of it is like instead of a lot of it is thinking on the user, right? So as we each time we ship that up an email, whether it's to mass across everyone or it's a certain segment, is we need to speak to the person and receiving it as if someone close and understand the person is speaking to you. I think maybe I'll hold here and pass it back to Tanish.
So Chen, what are the top 2 or 3 things that have changed from our email strategy yesterday and today? Like before COVID, how was the experience like and what has changed now?
Yeah, so I think pre-COVID, I think maybe like what I shared just now, but I think during COVID, right, I think several aspects happened, right? So I think one is that people can't go out. I think that now you're stuck at home and people suddenly send you, say, oh, there's this meals that you can go to or this massage they can go to, and the massage shop is actually closed. So what would the audience feel, right? So the audience, I think in the end is you need to think of the audience. What are the things that the audience can do at that time? Right, so maybe for different markets as well, it varies. Maybe for certain markets, you can do a takeaway. Maybe certain markets, you can't do anything except everything just online. Right, so I think you will shift as well, right? So I think like now people at home, the time that they go online is different. And maybe also the way that they go on, like let's say back then when they were on commute, they were on phone. Now maybe they're an evening, they're at home, and how they go. And I think Ramadan month as well as it hits. And I think for Malaysia now the market has gradually reopened. So I think the messaging when we go in as well, when Malaysia reopened was like it was not a nationwide reopen. So certain states, certain things are open, right? So I think for the people is how to cater to the right audience, because for some people restaurants now open in their mind is restaurants. For some people it's delivery. Maybe so some people
Sure.
now they can start booking a travel and some people can't. So I think a lot of it is tying to it. I think for us as we go on it is look at each day, each week, and then adapt to it, right? And if we don't have a good message to send to people, better don't send, right? Because if you send a random one, it just became many of it. And I think empathy is key, because at this point, people may not be able to. People receive lots of email. People were at home. People can't go out. It's so better to send the relevant things that matter and then speak from the heart.
So you think that empathy is the key, and email IDs are people, like Faz said in the panel that it's not email IDs, it's people. They're listening to us. They're sensitive to the information. They're sensitive to what we are sending. So that is the key, right?
Yes.
Okay, Chen, how are you making your email strategy crisis proof? Is there anything specifically you are doing with data, or going in depth to figure out that how do you make your future email strategy crisis proof?
Yeah, so I think that evolving and adaptation will constantly happen, right? So I think in this COVID situations, I think it's not a survivor, not just the fittest, but the one that can adapt to it, right? So I think the situation, let's say the new normal as we go along. So let's say take India, like how the situation will be in 2 weeks time. No one will know perfectly, but I think it's how do we be able to adapt to it. So I think one of the way to crisis proof is what's the process for our teams to adapt to it. How do we listen, understand the consumer, and how do we be able to speak the right language to the right people, right? So I think the right aspects. So I think that would be one aspect of it. I think that the sometimes let's say preparing for the weekends, but then during weekend maybe things have shifted. And I think like let's say the announcement from government and say this thing is open or that thing is now closed, right? And even maybe the number of cases. I think in some market we observe that today if the cases spiked up, the consumer behavior shifted right for that day, right? And versus the next day, the day before. So I think a lot of it is that knowing. And I think as we go on it, I think Reid Hoffman, the LinkedIn founder, spoke about. I think is how do you adapt to the new normal? What's the normal that you're going to happen rather than it is today, right? And I think that where the Uber India, I think Dara from Uber spoke as well on like head towards where the park is going to be, not where the park is at, right? So I think it's aiming towards that. And I think just a bit ahead, but not way ahead as well. Because people can't really, not really think it, imagine that 2 months later, right? So I think that would
Sure.
be piece by piece as you plan.
Sure, that's a beautiful point, Chen. I think we have to adapt every day. We are listening to what is coming from government, what is coming from each location, and I think adapting every day is a very important process for all the brands out there. Uh, so, Chen, you see that there's a lot of monotonous content happening, and especially at the times like this where people are sending a lot of COVID content pieces, and before COVID, people were sending a lot of deals and discounts. So there is a content monotony. How is Fave breaking that content monotony?
Yeah, so I think one is that maybe taking different for us. So I think one is we took a bunch of celebrity. So I think we had a campaign where to save the local businesses, and we actually get the celebrities to come on board. So I think the celebrities speak to the audience rather than us speaking to the audience. So I think that could be one of the things, and I think enable the team to use their creativity to try, right? So sometimes they play with some memes, sometimes they shifted certain things. So I think it's a lot of flexibility while still keeping to the big picture, right? So I think the last thing we want is telling the users the same thing. So let's say we want to drive delivery. People heard first time delivery, great news. For because your site hasn't done delivery. After hearing 3 times, 5 times, people are like, okay, what is delivery? I don't care. Right? Even the Save Our Faith by Save Our Local Restaurants is that you want to get a balanced share of voice within your message, but then you don't want to overwhelm it, right?
Sure.
Because for some people that means a lot, saving a local restaurants in my neighborhood. For some people, I'm surviving. I just lost my job yesterday. Why you tell me about saving mine? The restaurants that around me. So let's say like even like payday. We used to run payday campaign. I think we actually stopped doing that because in some markets, let's say like Indonesia, a lot of people lost their jobs. So and you tell people now payday, these people is like, hey, I'm very hurtful because I don't have a pay. and you tell me go and spend on a payday, right? So I think it's a lot of messaging that you connect through it, and then I think resonate. And I think that feel free to be creative. I think letter from the MD makes sense, or the whatever you call it, like CEO, founders, or those kind of thing. But I think that it needs to be speaking from the heart and not a generic letter that just go sales message, right? Because people don't want to hear another more sales message. People knows that they need to sanitize and everything. But how do you do it in a different cute way, different way? Like let's say we did one of the messaging out was a black and white video of imagining the past where people get to eat together, right?
So I think, Chen, those particular answers that you kind of gave is very specific. You think it's very specific to your market, or you think pandemic, everywhere else across the globe, does that go for a similar one?
Yeah, so I think every market will have slightly adapt, but I think the core principle is the same, right? So people still want to be spoken to. People still want not the same monotonous, same messaging. People still want where you go more forward looking, right? So I think a lot of principle I think is similar, but the exact content may differ. The culture may differ, right? So, and I think even take India, right? I would look at it as India maybe it's like even like a continent. Different part of India may be expecting different way. In certain culture, I think especially you have an audience of multi countries, different audience expect different aspects as well, right? Different cultural perspective. Yeah.
Absolutely. Culture does make a huge particular difference over there. So over here, of course, Sachin, you're here. We quickly have a word with Gaurav and Rachit. What's your take on this?
Yeah, sorry, I would like to drop off already, but thank you very much. Really appreciate having me today.
All right. Thank you very much, and really appreciate it. I'm sorry Tanishq is not here to personally thank you, but I really appreciate he would do the same thing, and really appreciate your time here. Thank you very much for making it today.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And sorry, Garo Rashid, for taking the time initially. Okay, thanks. Bye.